Hi friends, welcome to Leelalicious. I'm Regina, and today I'm going to show you how to make this amazing no-knead bread. If you want to get started making homemade bread, but sourdough recipes seem complicated, kneading lots kind of turns you off from the whole process, then I highly recommend this recipe. You need just 4 simple ingredients. You probably already have them in your home. You just stir them up, close the container, and in the morning you're going to bake the most amazing, delicious, crusty, flavorful bread. Since this is a no-knead bread recipe, all the ingredients are simply stirred up. This recipe uses a bit more water than you may be used to, but this is no problem. We are not going to knead the dough, so it doesn't matter if it's sticky or not. The whole reason we usually knead bread dough is for the gluten development. But this time we're not going to do it by hand, by kneading. Instead, we're going to let time do the work for us. By letting the dough rest overnight and by having a little bit more water in the dough, the whole gluten development happens by itself. The other great thing about this bread is that you don't need a Dutch oven. If you have one, of course you can use it. But don't let not having a Dutch oven hold you back from making amazing, crusty bread at home. All you need is some sort of oven-safe, deep container with a lid. The most common item would be a Pyrex glass bowl that is for sure oven-safe. And then I use a metal lid, but if you don't have any oven-safe lids, you can also just use aluminum foil to tent it around the bowl. Let's get started by stirring everything up. I usually use a scale and metric measurements for this bread recipe, and it takes me literally 3 minutes or so to stir everything up at night, and I put it aside. And then my dough will be ready to be baked in the morning. Let's start with a super simple ingredient list. We need 3.5 cups or 450 grams of all-purpose or bread flour. Then we need 1.5 cups of water or 350 milliliters, as well as 9 grams or 1.5 teaspoons of salt and half a teaspoon or 2.5 grams of instant or rapid rise yeast. To the flour in a large bowl, add the remaining dry ingredients, which is the salt and instant yeast. Now you can use your hand to mix that all up quickly. I have some weird sensory issues and try to keep touching my food to a minimum, so I'm using a spatula to whisk together all the dry ingredients, and once they're evenly combined, add the water on top. Again, you could do this by hand. I'm using the spatula to stir everything up until the water and the dry ingredients combine and this rough dough ball forms. We don't need to knead it, we just want to stir it until there are no more dry pockets of flour inside the dough ball or on the edges of the bowl. And there we go. That's it, it's a rough dough ball. Now cover up the bowl either with a lid that fits tightly on top or a plate or plastic wrap, and let the dough sit to proof at room temperature anywhere from 8 to up to 18 hours. When you're ready to bake your no-knead bread, preheat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit or 230 degrees Celsius. Into the oven, also place either an oven-proof glass bowl, a Dutch oven, a deep casserole dish, anything you can bake your bread in that can be covered so that steam can develop during the baking process. And this is what is essential to create this delicious crusty outside on our no-knead bread. You want to give the oven and the baking vessel plenty of time to preheat, so let it sit for at least half an hour to get to full temperature. In that time, let's look at our dough. Look at how beautifully it has risen. It is bubbly and it also looks quite sticky. So we need a piece of parchment paper and cover it with a generous sprinkling of flour all over. And on top of that, we are going to add the proofed no-knead bread dough. Use a spatula or your hands to kind of tease it out of the bowl and just let it fall down onto the parchment. The beautiful thing about this extra wet and sticky dough is it doesn't matter all too much how we're going to handle it because it's going to shape up into a ball during the baking process. So now use a spatula or your hands to kind of bring together the edges of the dough and fold them over into the middle to create a tighter dough ball. At some point you probably have to use your hands. Try to flip it over and fold it up, and so you can kind of get the smooth side to be on top. There we go. It is a bit sticky, but don't worry. It's gonna look great no matter what.
Now set the dough aside with the entire piece of parchment and use oven mitts to get out your hot Pyrex bowl or Dutch oven out of the oven. Place it on a trivet and then lift the entire bread with the parchment paper inside of it. Cover it either with a tight-fitting lid, or you can also use a baking sheet or aluminum foil. Now return it all to the oven and bake for half an hour covered. After that, remove the lid or covering and bake uncovered for another 15 minutes so that the top can get nice and crusty golden. Look at this beautiful crackly top. It is just delicious. And lift it out by the parchment paper and then remove the parchment paper. We want to cool the bread so it doesn't form steam under the parchment, and it should sound hollow when you knock on the bottom. I like to add the bread on top of a trivet or cooling rack so that it can cool faster and fully from all sides without steam or condensation forming, which would soften up that beautiful crust. And here's how I like to slice my no-knead bread. I use a large serrated knife on a cutting board and first slice the entire loaf in half. And now it reveals this beautiful inside texture. It has a beautiful crumb with plenty of air bubbles. And then I take 1/2 of the loaf, put it cut side down, and cut it into slices this way. And there you go. This is perfect for dunking into soups, stews, or chili, or you can also use the slices to make delicious sandwiches. Of course, the only thing that can make this even better is a nice slather of salted butter. So good.
And this is how easy it is to make your own delicious, crusty, no-knead bread. Thank you so much for watching and baking along with me. I hope you're going to give this bread recipe a try. And if you do, let me know in the comments. I love to hear from you guys. Also, please like and share this video, subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you soon with another delicious recipe. Bye for now.